When you're stuck in a toxic cycle, there are some common emotions that you can experience and they don't feel good. We tend to vilify our person on the other end who we're having the problem with, and we can over victimize ourselves. It's not to say that victimization is not real and it doesn't occur, but with the toxic cycle, it's almost like everything and every emotion is really blown up. So I'm going to talk with you today about some common emotions that you can experience and how to use those to better understand your toxic cycle. Hi, my name is Olivia, and I am passionate about helping you understand what relational trauma is so that you can prevent it, overcome it, and move on with your life. So today, everything is coming from my book, Have You Had Enough? How to Break Up with Your Toxic Cycle. I will put a QR code on the screen, and I will also put a link in the description. So, excuse me. Okay, so with toxic cycles, there are common emotions, and they are all unpleasant. So unpleasant emotions are things we don't like to feel. So some really common emotions that go along with your toxic cycle, because a toxic cycle, yes, it is the same fight over and over, but beyond that, it's the emotional roller coaster that we go through during the cycle, before the cycle, and outside of the cycle that feels so bad and can really get you feeling really down. So here is a list of common emotions. These are found on page 8 from Have You Had Enough? So the first one is shame. So with shame, there's always going to be pain and humiliation. So you're probably experiencing a lot of pain and you might have humiliation. Maybe it's over the way you acted, or maybe it was the way you were treated during the toxic cycle. They don't feel very good at all. They don't feel good at all. Next one is frustration. Very normal to feel like you just want to pull your hair out because you are so frustrated with trying to overcome this barrier over and over and over and feel like you're getting nowhere, no matter how much you think you both understand, how many times you've had the conversation, how many times you've tried to see it their way. It's like you just exhausted all your efforts. So a lot of frustration. Guilt. Guilt is very normal to feel in a toxic cycle. You can feel guilty for not being able to make it work. Toxic cycles pull you from your role. So now you're going to feel guilty that you're not upholding your role or living up to what your role is supposed to be, either as parent or as partner or boss or coworker or neighbor, whatever the relational dynamic is. Also, anger, another very normal emotion you're going to feel if you're in a toxic cycle, can feel very angry. Maybe angry at the other person, angry at people outside of the cycle, just angry that you're in the cycle. Another one, feeling fed up. So you can get to the place where you just feel like, I'm done. So that's called a fixer thought in mind and body bridging work. That's a fixer thought, like, I'm done. I've tried everything, so my brain cannot find any other exit than just be done. So feeling really fed up. Also feeling stuck, right? You feel like you're stuck, and when you feel stuck, you're going to feel small because you're feeling helpless, and that can help us to feel even more victimized, right? Feeling like you don't have any choices because every choice your brain can think of, you've tried and it didn't work. You're still having the same fight over and over. Also, rage. You can get to a place where that anger is bound in shame, and now you feel like a hungry, angry dog, right? You're just furious, feel rageful. And also you can find yourself having anxiety. So even if you've never struggled with anxiety before, these toxic cycles can put us in a place where we overestimate the problem and we underestimate our ability to cope. So now this problem's like the biggest thing in the world, and I am so helpless to do anything about it. And that's where we're going to find that anxiety. So those are a really common list of emotions that you can feel when you're in a toxic cycle. And that helps us to know, like, okay, this is how I'm feeling and this is normal. So it doesn't make the emotion go away, but it's sort of like, okay, this is where I'm at and this is why I'm here. Now that I understand that, let me now look at a different way of dealing with it. So here is another thing that you can do to help you ask further questions to start to really paint what is going on with the cycle. So this list of questions is found on page 12 from Have You Had Enough? And here is question number 1. How did this encounter start? So you want to think back to the last time that you experienced this fight with the other person, regardless of who the person is. Maybe it's with the child, with the romantic partner, a coworker, a friend, whoever the toxic cycle you're in, a parent, maybe it's with your parent. You're an adult, but maybe it's also your parent. So how did it start? What set it off? What was like the catalyst that started it all? And what was going on at the beginning? So right before it started. So you don't want to start with like your first back and forth. What was going on right before the back and forth started? So it's going to be the very beginning of the cycle actually starts before the fight. So what was going on? The second one, what was the emotion you felt in the moment? So just a quick emotion. What were you feeling right as it started? So remember, before the fight, what was going on? How were you feeling then? For so many cycles that I've seen that have been mapped out, there's usually excitement. So I'm coming to you and I'm going to invite you somewhere and I'm feeling super excited. And then whatever that next person's response is, we're already off and running in the cycle because it usually starts by me inviting you. That's not going to be true for every cycle, but most cycles start with someone being vulnerable and excitement or trying to open up and get close to someone. So you can see where it could get toxic pretty quick the more vulnerable I am because I'm already coming with a lot of weight to that moment. Okay. So that what was the emotion you were feeling? And then the third one, and then what happened? So this is what was happening. This is how I felt. And then what happened? And the next one is, and what was that emotion? So you can see how we're starting to like trickle through and map out the cycle. So you're just going to go around through the whole cycle until you get to the end. And then you're going to see like, and how did it end? And how was I feeling? So that is how to get through and map out the toxic cycle. And then in future videos, we're going to talk about what do we do with this information. So that was from page 12. I've also created a quick worksheet that you can do to just quickly walk through these questions and map out your toxic cycle and learn how to get out of it. It's available on my website. It's really simple and easy to do. I will put a QR code for that worksheet here. And also you can get the book off of Amazon. I also have a course available on my website. All of that is always going to be in the description. So I'm hoping that if you're in a place where you're feeling really fed up and really sick and tired of that same fight, that you take the time to learn what that cycle is and see if you can map it out and walk through it so you can get yourself out of it. And if you go back and watch your prior video, which I'll leave a link to, we talked about the difference between a toxic cycle and a toxic relationship. Toxic cycles can end and your relationship can get even better and you can get even closer, but toxic relationships tend to get worse. So it's hard to know which is which until you deal with your cycle and then you can take a look. So I'll put a card for that video above and I'm wishing you all the best. If you are feeling really hopeless, if you are in the United States, there is a link to 988 or you could call 988 on your phone. That will help you talk to someone who is a crisis worker, usually within your local area, and they can give you some help totally free, completely confidential. That's always available to you. Or you could check out something like psychologytoday.com and find a therapist in your area if you are feeling too overwhelmed. So I wouldn't do the exercise if that's the place you find yourself. But if you feel like, no, I'm just fed up and sick of it and I want to take a look, then you can give it a try. So take good care if you feel like you're in a place to do that. Take good care. I'll see you in the next one.